Hello and welcome to the first video in the 30 Python video series. So, first thing we need to know or need to understand is a data frame, because that's what we load all of our data into. And before we can understand the data frame, we're going to have to understand what a series is, which is essentially a column within a data frame. It doesn't always need to be within a data frame, and we're about to see that. But what we want to cover in this notebook is what functions can we call onto a data frame to make it do the things that we want to get the information out it that we need. So we're going to start really simple, a little bit slow, work through it, trust in the process. I ignored all this stuff in the beginning and then ended up having to come back to it. So you might as well just learn it now, make your life easier later on. Okay, so data frame, essentially a container that holds all of your data. Makes sense. So in order to load a data frame, we need to import pandas. So as usual, importing the pandas, and many series makes a data frame. So we're going to start off first with a series. How do you create a series? Very kind of simple stuff. But then how do we build it up and turn it into a data frame? Let's kick it off. So let's create an object first. The object is pd.series, then the open brackets, and then in the square brackets we're going to feed it a list of numbers, and it's going to convert that list into a series of data, just like that. And you'll see that down the side you have 0 to 4. That's Python or Pandas basically giving it an index for you to work with. If we wanted to just see the values in that little tiny series that we created, imagine that we've got a series of 1,000,000 rows. We just want to look at the values. Then we get an array, so we do dot values and we get an array back of all the numbers that we've created. And maybe we want to know about the index, like how's it comprised. And the index will become more important later on, but for now we're just going to inspect the one that Pandas gave us, and it starts at 0, it stops at 5 because we've got 5 data points, and the step increment is 1. So, and everything in Python starts at 0 and goes up. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. But we have 5 numbers, but 4 index numbers. Hopefully that makes sense. Just remember, everything starts at 0. It counts from 0 up. 0 the hero. Now, maybe we want to apply our own index to this series of data, and I'm going to go with fruit. So we're going to add an index of fruit. So that's create an object, all the fruit, equals pd.series, bracket, feed it a list, then comma equals, and give it a list of indexes. And if we look at this, 14 orange, banana 19, grape 10, blueberry 39, and for some reason we have a hell of a lot of dragon fruit. It's nice, but I've never seen that much in the UK. Let's check out the values as before, as we did with the data frame. It just spits out an array of the values that you input. The index is different this time. So the index is set as those labels of fruit. You can see dtype object, that basically means it's labeled and it's not numeric. Let's select a row. Maybe we just want to look at one of the rows in our series. So we do all the fruit, then square bracket, then the name of the column, the index, sorry, that's banana, and we get 19. So we can do this with anybody. Let me see. We can do this with orange, 14, as we see, 14. You see how it works. Feed it the label and it will give you the answers. So how can we add to a series? What happens if we've created a series and we don't want to go all the way back to the top and input more data? We want to do it on the fly. So we create a new row, essentially a new index, all the fruit. I'm going to call it apples because we didn't have apples, but we had dragon fruit. And apples equals 278. So run, no errors. This is good. We've made it so far with no errors. And if we run all the fruit and look at it again, at the bottom, we have a lot of apples. Still more dragon fruit than apples, but, you know, we can change that, and that's what we're going to do now. So what if we want to update one of the data points in the series? So we want to update apples to 2,378. If we do call the apple label and equal and whatever you want in there, you will get, it will just update. That's fine. We could probably change this to, I'm just gonna try this. Apple equals apple, because I've got no imagination. There we go. Apple goes in there. But I'm working with numbers right now, so I'm gonna have to return that. Okay. Let's get on the data frame. We want to create a data frame. Most of the time when you're dealing with data frames, you'll import it, but we're going to create one from the beginning so you understand how they're made up, and potentially you might need to make one in the future to add, to enrich your data. So we're going to create a dictionary of veg suppliers. So city veg is going to be the column name and the list of data underneath it. And other fruit company, another list. And we're going to create, so we're going to run that. So that's me created a dictionary. That's how easy it is to create a dictionary. A dictionary open and closes with these little curly brackets. And each item in the dictionary is separated by these little colons. So this is the thing we're looking for, and this is what it means, essentially. And you can create as many of those as possible as long as you separate them with commas. So we've got our dictionary. Now we're going to, whoops, smash the mouse against the wall. We're now going to create a data frame with the dictionary and give it the index that we had above. Again, no errors. If we look at that, we can see all the elements that came from the dictionary are now in here, and the index that we created over here is now running down the side. So let's check the values in this newly created data frame. There you go. So it gives an array. It's got 2 columns. First part, and you can see them marrying with here. That's it. That's what it looks like when you call the values. If we want to call the columns, simple as that. So you have your object name dot columns, and it pumps out the columns. You'll use this. You use columns all the time. I use columns all the time. I never know what sort of data I'm getting, so I need to see what the columns are up front. And if you do actually need a list of the columns, because maybe you're manipulating them, I saw this in a video a couple of months ago, so I didn't know this. But if you wrap the list and then put inside list veggie supplier, so your data frame, what it pumps out is your column names in a list. So it's quite useful if you just need to take the list and move it somewhere. Or if you want to inspect your columns that way. So let's look at City Veg. Let's see what they have in their portfolio of fruit and veg. They've got oranges, bananas, grapes. See, this is basically us just looking at one column. But what happens if we wanted to look at the row of oranges? We'll use a function called lock.lock. We'll go into this in more detail in another video, but it's important that you remember that you use .lock for labeled indexes. So there you go. We have, that gives us everything that's in that row and with its columns. So City Veg and Other Fruit Company, and it gives us City Veg has 14 oranges and Other Fruit Company has 83 oranges. So lock allows you to see all the data in a given row with the columns next to it. It's really useful. Let's say we want to get rid of one of the columns because maybe we're not using them as a supplier anymore, so we just want to delete them. You just write the word del, nice and easy. Again, Python being super useful. Space, then the object name, so that's a data frame, and then the column name that you want to get rid of. So we do that, and then call it again. There you go. Only City Veg exists now. So be careful when you use that, because if you've created that data frame, you'll need to recreate it again. Or sorry, if you created that series, you'll need to create it again, because you've basically just deleted it from memory. So if we want to add a new fruit and veg supplier, we would call the object, square bracket, give the new series a name, so new veg supplier, and then give it some data, so equals, and here's a list of data that you want to populate under new veg supplier. And one thing we need to remember is it will take the data in the order that you give it and apply it to the index, and you'll see what I mean by this in a moment. So oranges is 832, bananas is 202, grape is 39, blueberries 23, dragon fruit is 22. So remember, the order you feed it is the order that the index will ingest it. So next part is, what is an index and why is it important? Indexes are really important because they basically hold all the data together. It's sort of an anchor point for all your data. So if you don't have, that's why pandas and Python give you an index like right out of the box, so your data doesn't kind of move all over the place when you start sorting it and things. The sorts of data that indexes that you'll use most often will probably be date time or maybe order numbers, but you can use integers or labels like we're doing here. An order number probably could be an integer as well, or it could be alphanumeric. Anyway, you'll figure it out when you get it. I'm just going to create an object which is the index that we're playing with. So index equals veggiesuppliers.index, and then you hit index again, and you get what we have above here. And if we only want to look at some of those, so we're now like, oh, show me between 2 and 3. Does that work? Yeah. Remember, everything starts at 0. So it's 0, orange, 1, banana, 2, grape, blueberries 3. So it can only give you grape. So that's just a way that you would maybe cut up your data to look at it. We'll do a lot more of this in other video series, but again, we're just giving you like an introduction to what you can do on a data frame. So we want to create index labels. And to do this, we create an object. So index underscore label equals pd.index. So this is a method that allows you to create an index that you can apply to other places. So we're being boring and using 1 to 5. So veggie supplier dot set index. So this is me creating an index after creating the data frame. So maybe I change my mind on what I want the index to be. So veggie supplier list set underscore index, and then I'm using the object that I created above, the index one, and we're going to put in place equals true, which means we're going to overwrite the previous index. No problem so far. Now, if we look at this veggie supplier, see, we've overwritten the index with the one that we want to use instead. Now, turns out that I don't really want to use that index, so I'm going to go back to my original index, which is here. I'm just going to spell it out in this one with creating a list and list. And if we run this, actually, it's changed again. So you can amend an index whenever you like to whatever way you want. It's your index, use it for your purposes. Now that we've understood indexing and how we get values out and how we create data frames in series, let's ask our data frame some questions. So simple ones like banana in veggie supplier dot columns. What do you think that might mean? It means look in the columns of veggie supplier. Can go backwards. And is banana in there? False, because it's not in the columns, it's in the index. Yeah, kind of a trick question, really rubbish trick question, but anyway. So in columns veggie supplier, is there new veg supplier? Yes, it's there, because here it is up here. Is banana in the index? Yes, banana is in the index. But is new veg supplier in the index? No. Now, these are daft questions, I get that. But what it's trying to show you in a very simple way is you can literally ask questions to get true or false answers from your index. So if you need to know if like a number, let's say you know an index should be in there, but you're not sure if it's in there, then you can ask the data frame if that index is in there, because it might be a very important row of information that you're missing. It could be a client ID, it could be a payment ID, it could be anything like that. So the data frame is happy to answer your questions. You just need to ask them in the right way. Reindexing. This is quite an important thing. If you're adding new data and new indexes to your data frame. So let's kick this off. I'll try to show you. I always find it quite difficult to express, but in words, so I get it when I do it. Let's create a new object, more index values, because we're going to add more. So we've got pd.index, so that means we're about to create an index object. And it's going to have orange, banana, grape, blueberry, dragon fruit, apples, and we're adding ginger. Not a problem there. Now, we want to re-index our current data frame to include this new ginger value. So veggie suppliers now equals veggie suppliers dot reindex, and we're using the more index values that we created above. And what we're saying next is fill value with 0, because if you don't fill the value, it will become an NA. Let's have a look. So we've got that there. So we've got ginger and apples. Why is ginger and apples? I don't know why apples have went 0. Let's run this from the top. Sometimes you need to do this. Sometimes you get problems. You just need to work them out. I'm going to ask it some questions. Okay, in the last data frame we created, it didn't have dragon fruit in it. So we are adding apples and ginger. And if we didn't add apples and ginger, as a fill value 0, it would come up NA. We'd never want NA data. There's a whole section about fixing NAs coming up. But NA data basically means you'll get a lot of problems. If you're trying to draw charts, you basically can't do any machine learning or anything basically if you have an NA value, because the machines don't know how to handle an NA value. That's how we add more index values. And then using reindex to make sure that it populates in the data frame. So we're going to do the same, but we're going to do it for columns. So we're going to add new stockists. So a new stockist, pd.index, and then give it a list of new stockists, of the stockists. And veggies, and then we're overwriting the data frame that we have and re-indexing it in columns now. So we're specifically saying columns. It knows that this is index because we used it here, but if we put new stockists in there, it would end up as an index. So we're going to say new columns equals columns equals new stockists, and then fill the value with 0. And we're going to look at it. There you go. That's how you re-index things. So that is the end of the first video. It's a bit longer than the others, I think. But it's because I'm trying to show you how to use a data frame, all the ways that you can apply different functions onto the data frame. How do you change it? How do you look for things? And we'll go into these things in more detail later, but play around with this. Like, you can make your own data frame like that. You can add any values you want. You can add values that you're familiar with. It's always good to use familiar things. Believe it or not, I'm actually quite familiar with fruit companies and veg, so I use that. But yeah, use value. I mean, you want to be the domain expert using this, so whatever data you're used to looking at, create your data frame using that. All right, if you found it useful, support the channel by liking and subscribing and commenting. And if you really like this channel and really want to support us, share it with your friends.